Hello there, and welcome to Running Down the Hill, the podcast where we get to know our guests by discussing an episode of Little House on the Prairie. The episode you're about to hear was originally released on the Sweet Shot of Time podcast feed. But don't worry, you definitely came to the right place to hear us talk about the Ingalls family and Walnut Grove. Make sure to subscribe to Sweet Shot of Time, our flagship podcast. And please, Pa, subscribe to Running Down the Hill, Little House on the Prairie original series recaps. And now on with the show, Running Down the Hill. Whew. It smells like lemon verbena in here. Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Shot of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes. This is the podcast about time, specifically 1870. We're talking about Little House on the Prairie, and today we have watched episode 6 of season 1, If I Should Wake Before I Die. This episode features a one-time character, Amy Hearn. We never see this character again, but we learn her whole life story within this episode. This was released on October 23rd, 1974, and I invited my guest on, and he chose this episode because his birthday happens to be October 23rd. So let's celebrate that when the day comes. So here comes my guest. I know him very well. He's an online guy. He's online right now. I mean, with me. And he's my son. It's Caleb Barnes. Ahoy there, Caleb.
Ahoy there. It's me,
How's it going today?
Barnes. It's going good. Going great. You know, I watched this episode. I picked this episode, as you said. I actually forgot until your intro that it was October 23rd. I was like, oh, sweet. He's giving like details about when it was released. What, my birthday? I forget that was like the whole, like half the reason I picked it was because of that.
I mean, and I even tried to like kind of swayed you against it because I was like, oh, this episode's kind of a little bit weird and kind of a little heavy handed, which it is in a way.
It is. But I kind of, I don't know, that was enticing to me. I liked the synopsis of it.
I mean, it is a challenge, and I'm glad we came back to it. I will say about this episode, because it starts out with kind of a real downer within the first 10 minutes. And I tried to watch this with, I'm talking to the audience, by the way, because you know who Heather is, but I was watching this with my wife, Heather. It was just like, it was bad timing, like within the family time. We were watching this episode. It was very sad. She didn't want to continue this episode. She's like, let's watch a better episode than this one.
Honestly, I don't blame her. It's it's heavy. I think watching this episode, like in like the midst of like dealing with your own personal loss.
Yes.
Like this is probably, speaking as this is the only episode I've watched of Little House on the Prairie. I imagine this is the worst episode you could watch at that point.
No. Believe me, there's not. I mean, people lose their babies. People lose their loved ones. You know, sons and daughters die. Like grandparents die. The dog dies. I mean.
Oh, no.
This show really gets into death and really gets into the feelings. This episode got a little ridiculous because I think that Charles Ingalls did some stuff that you wouldn't think Charles Ingalls would do.
But he kind of got roped into it, to be fair. Like he was, I'm trying to think of like a good example of like a character, like one of those comedies where a character just like keeps digging themselves deeper into like a mess. And that's kind of what this felt like.
Yes. Yeah, I can't think of a movie that does that example anyway, but this is your introduction to Charles Ingalls, though. Did you have any idea about Little House on the Prairie or the Ingalls family or anything at all before we started doing this?
I only knew what you had mentioned in passing. Charles Ingalls specifically, you mentioned he was like, he was kind of the, like an all around, like a handyman kind of guy. He would like help people with whatever needed getting done, I think is what you said. Like he was just like morally like kind of righteous guy, stood up for people, stuff like that. And that's kind of the impression I got. He seemed like seemed like a friendly chap in this episode. He seemed like just willing to do anything, like anything actually, given the whole plot.
This isn't a question I was planning on asking you or anybody, but I think this is the perfect opportunity since this is the only episode of Little House that you've seen. Who would you say is the main character of Little House on the Prairie?
Who would I say is the main character? Well, It's hard to judge, with my limited scope. Like Charles feels like the main character, but I could also make an argument for one of the daughters. Laura. I think Laura was kind of taking the spotlight for me in this episode.
You're spot on, buddy. Like this
Yeah.
whole series was written by the real life Laura Ingalls, and she's supposed to be like the center of the show, like the moral center, the spotlight. But
Hmm.
Michael Landon is the showrunner. He's the director. He's the star. He's the reason the show is even a show. So like he kind of, I mean, I don't think it's unjustly. I think, he was fantastic in this show, but he kind of took the spotlight away from Laura Ingalls a little bit. So I was just curious what your
Okay.
perspective was. And I think that that's exactly right. It seems like Charles is the star, but Laura is a big draw too.
I will say, having only seen this episode, I think Laura is probably my favorite of the cast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really what drew me into Little House too, is like her relatability. I just had a guest on, I mean, it was just yesterday, but people have heard this episode like probably 2 weeks ago. Dee Dee came on the podcast from her podcast. Gen X Gon Give It To You is what her podcast is called.
Awesome.
She's a black female, I'm a white male. But even so, like both of us like strongly related to Laura, even though like, there's things about us that are completely diametrically different than Laura. But I think she just really represents like just an all around curious, good,
Yeah.
rambunctious kid.
And I think the fact that, like, how old is Laura? Is she like 7?
I think she's supposed to be more like 10 or 11 at this point.
Okay. Like, but I think that, like, everyone can relate to that because, like, having like a curious child as like a main focal point is kind of a cheat code because, like, everyone experiences childhood, like, regardless of your background, and everyone experiences that, like, childhood curiosity, right? Like, and I think that's probably why it resonates with so many people, is because they're like, yeah, I remember, being inquisitive like that, and, trying to ask my parents, like, big questions like this.
I almost wish you'd seen the episode that me and Dee Dee watched because it showed this side of Laura that it was glaringly obvious because she had written this essay that was for school and she can't read or write very well. So her essay said like, Ma is nice, Ma cooks good, Ma takes care of me. But then
Hmm.
she got up in front of the class and she like did this huge speech with these big emotions and all these demonstrations of her love for her mother and stuff. And, she can hold court really well. But, what's in her head doesn't really necessarily come through with, what she can produce.
Hmm.
So yeah, Laura's great. But I'm going to ask you though. I have like some basic questions I like to ask my guests before we get started. So I'm going to put you on the runner here. If you, Caleb, existed back in 1870, but you were pretty much like you are now, but you were 1870, Caleb, and you were the age you are now. And either you showed up in Walnut Grove and you had to find a job, or you were in an episode that based around you. Where do you see yourself within the world of Little House,
Uh,
1870?
I've thought about this, and I I feel like a lot of the things, I am very much like a modern human being, so it's very hard to imagine myself
Sure.
in that setting. But I would, I think, like, probably the most direct comparison would probably it would be something to do with, I guess, like, numbers, or like
Mm.
money or something. It would, because that's what I do now, is I
Mhm.
manage accounts for my clients, telecom companies. I have no idea how that would translate to like a small town in the 1870s.
An accountant, maybe, or a lender of some sort.
Accountant, maybe, like, I don't know if they, like, have some sort of, like, I don't know, like, treasury
Yeah, they got a bank.
office or something.
Ebenezer Sprague is the banker, and they might like you a lot better than Ebenezer Sprague.
With a name like Ebenezer, there's only one major Ebenezer I can think of. If there's any comparison to be made there, imagine he's not the happiest fella.
Well, let's shrink you down then. Let's shrink you down to like Laura's age, Caleb, 1870. And you could only have one toy that you could play with. Because Laura famously just has like one toy, and that's all she's got. All the kids in this family just have one thing. So what would
Mhm.
your one thing be that would keep you occupied that you could play around with at this time frame?
I don't know. I don't know about a toy. Would a sketchbook qualify? Like some sort of like just like a pen and paper? Because I feel like of all the things that I could do to keep me busy back then, I feel like I would just want to be drawing all the time. I would be wanting to like because that's what I did when I was like actually like a kid. Is
That's
I
right.
loved
That's right.
like I had so many notebooks and I would just like draw and doodle.
I mean, it's an acceptable answer, except it doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a toy to me.
It doesn't. Yeah, I
So
know. Like
let's do this instead. Let's say that you are Caleb Barnes back in, you're living in this room that I'm recording in right now. Let's say you're 10 years old. That's when we moved in this house. You were 10 years old and you could only have one toy. Like you were in trouble. I took away everything except for
oh,
one.
yeah, been
Would it
there.
still be a sketchbook or would you pick something more modern?
Man, I'm really deliberating this. I think it might
It's okay.
still be a sketchbook. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Maybe as a kid, I would have a different answer because
Well,
I'm
I'm
thinking
asking
about
you
it.
now though, so sorry.
Yeah, I know. I've got way too much of a like adult brain, like judging the decision. But I think as a kid, I might prefer just like having like one of my like action figures or something because I also liked playing with action figures when I was a kid. But the problem with that is you can't just have one. I'd need to have two.
Yeah, I hear you there. Actually, as a matter of fact, Marshland Monster James, I asked him this same question on a podcast, and one of his answer was that he wanted the Sandman figure from the Spider-Man series. That's the
Oh, awesome.
specific one figure that he wanted to hang on to.
Dang. Flint Marco. Rare Flint Marco enjoyer.
But yeah, I'll ask you some more questions as we walk through this episode. But just going to ask you, like, what did you think about this episode? And were there any moments that you thought were like insane or, just your basic general thoughts about it?
I don't know if like you want to like kind of like go through the episode play by play and then
I
I
am going to do
can.
that. Yes.
Okay.
But this is just like your elevator pitch, what you thought about the
Sure,
show.
yeah. Overall, I liked it. I mean, I didn't have like strong, I guess like feelings going in. Like sometimes when you go into something, you have expectations of it being like
Yeah.
really good or maybe really bad. Like, the first time I remember watching say The Room by Tommy Wiseau, I knew going in I was expecting a bad movie.
Yes. Okay.
Little House, I kind of went in completely neutral.
Great.
Like I knew you liked it. I knew it was popular, very popular back in the day. So I didn't expect it to be boring. I didn't expect it to like not grasp me, but I also wasn't really expecting, I guess, a like strong, I guess, emotional pull from the show.
Okay.
And I was kind of pleasantly surprised in that
Nice.
like there were moments where I like actually laughed out loud during the episode, and there were moments where I was like I was going back. If I'm watching something and I like rewind because I'm like, wait, I want to see that again. That's how I know I'm engaged with what I'm watching. And I think it is funny you mentioned earlier that this is the only time Amy shows up in the show.
Yeah.
Amy is a one-time character. And this being my only episode, you could have fooled me because she was so prevalent in this episode and she seemed like she like had pretty good chemistry with everyone in the cast. Like I could see her being like a recurring character.
Well, I mean, this whole crew are like pals. Like anytime they get like a supporting actor in there or like a guest star, it's usually somebody that Michael Landon and Vicar French are buddies with or that they have worked with previously. So this is very much like a buddy kind of like tight knit group of people that work together on this show.
Like an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Adam Sandler isn't like a notorious drinker or like party guy, but Little House on the Prairie, reportedly there was always cases of beer and bourbon on hand, and they were all just, drinking throughout the entire day while they were working.
Oh man,
That was just their style back in the 70s.
awesome working conditions.
Yeah, but Amy, I mean, this character is a good character, like you said, and she has like this whole backstory and she has like children.
Hmm.
So, like, it seems like they really could have brought her back, but maybe they intended to, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking as I watched this episode was that, like, Amy, it was back and forth. Like, the Engels are the main characters, like, as like a family unit, but like Amy felt like kind of the main character of this episode, right? Because it's
Sure.
centered around her and, her plan, her scheme to get her kids to visit her. And like the whole time I was thinking, like, I feel like there's not a lot of things, at least that I've watched, where the main character is like an elderly woman. You don't see that dynamic for a protagonist too often.
You're
And I
right.
think it speaks volumes about I guess the quality of the show, that like I could like care and relate for this main character, given like, her conflicts are things that I have never like personally experienced,
Sure.
and yet I could like empathize with her on certain things, and I understood like why she was doing what she did and like why she went through all these hoops, albeit a bit extreme, but like I understood it. I got it. I was like teetering on like rooting for her and being like, come on, Amy. You're being ridiculous.
That's a great perspective because I didn't even think about that point. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Mhm.
And I would recommend other episodes because this is definitely not the best episode of Little House. It's pretty low rated on IMDb and other places. I mean, I like this episode a lot too. As I was saying before, me and Heather started watching it, turned it off when it got too much of a downer, and then we never turned it back on.
And I wonder if that's part of why it's so lowly rated. Do you think?
I guess it's possible, or maybe that it just doesn't feature Laura enough, perhaps.
Mm,
But I didn't continue watching that episode of my own until you and I agreed to watch it. So I'm very glad that we did because I was really turned around and enjoyed this episode a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to end up all bad and shameful. And I have different memories of this episode because I saw this when I was a kid, but I have completely different memories of it. So I'm glad I was surprised and I'm glad I got to see like the actual episode itself. I think it'd be cool if you watched other episodes. And we haven't discussed your mom yet, but your mom, Christy, is an even bigger Little House fan than I am. It just so happens that she's not a podcaster, that she's a norm. But next time you see her, let her know that you saw this episode. And I'm sure that she will probably talk to you for a half an hour about Little House on the Prairie.
oh wow, okay. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll watch some more episodes so I can specifically get her insight on that. I never knew that.
Stick to season 1 though right now because we started watching episodes at random because I was just watching episodes that I remembered. I was watching episodes people were recommending to me, so I was jumping around between season 9 and season 1. But I found that like the episodes in season 1 are my absolute favorites. Like every one is good, and it's even this one of the lowest rated ones. It's probably my favorite season of the show. Maybe it's because they're so little at this time and just adorable. But yeah, like I said, we're going to walk through the show. This show opens up, or this episode opens up, and we got Miss Maddie. We're starting out, and we got Miss Maddie playing Camptown Races on her auto harp. This auto harp is like this cool old instrument. If you've seen the episode, then you know what I'm talking about. But on the left side, it has these white buttons, and those buttons are just your 12 notes. And then it also has beside the 12 notes another layer of like the 12 minors. So all you got to do is push down the note that you want the chord to play, and then you can strum all 24 of those strings and they'll all correspond to that chord. So it's a simple instrument to play, real easy, but real fun as well. Growing up, my mom, Caleb's Nana, had a friend that had one of these. And so we got to play around with it as kids.
Was she actually playing it, like the actress?
I couldn't tell you if she was or not, but I wouldn't be surprised because all she was playing was Camptown Races, and it's like 3 chords. So all she had to do was just know which 3 buttons to push. Charles Ingalls plays the fiddle a lot. He plays almost every episode he plays, but he doesn't the actor Michael Landon doesn't play. So they have somebody play for him. So I'm pretty sure she's probably not playing, Caleb. I'm sorry.
Ugh. Yeah, because I remember, I distinctly remember her playing Camp Down Ladies and thinking like, wow, is this actress like actually using this instrument that I've never seen before in my life?
Yeah, auto harp. So yeah, you got to do 2 things at once. And she makes a demonstration about patting yourself on the head and rubbing yourself on the belly. I mean, that's like multitasking, basically. Do you ever do 2 things at once, Caleb? Or is there ever like a situation where you're always doing 2 things at once?
I guess at work, I'm constantly doing 2 things at once. Whenever I'm, I guess, whenever I'm like auditing invoices, which I'm not going to get into my job on the podcast because I don't want to go on like a 40-minute rant about it. But
that's for a different podcast.
Yeah, different podcast.
Invoices are us.
I'm constantly going through multiple different sources of information to look for, I guess, like contracts or information about the services that are billing. And even outside of work, I'm a big fan of having a 2-monitor setup on my personal computer.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And I think that's like the ultimate visualization of multitasking if you've got multiple things you're running at once.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, you're right here on this screen. I'm looking at you and talking to you. And over on this screen over here are my notes that I'm scrolling up and down. So yeah, it's perfect.
And sometimes with 2 monitors, I feel the urge to like go cross-eyed. Or I guess, is it cross-eyed or is it the opposite of cross-eyed? Like Ed from Ed, Edd and Eddy. Like, my vision is being dragged in 2 different directions, and sometimes that can be a little distracting.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking about Jawbreakers now. Caleb, come on.
the unattainably large Jawbreakers from Ed, Edd and Eddy.
2 things at once. That makes me think. What that made me think about was we used to have a upright piano in our house. We didn't really play it a whole lot. I played guitar more, but it was just here. And you would come in sometimes and mess around with it a little bit, dink around on the keys a bit. Mm-hmm. You didn't really have a huge interest in it. But whenever you did come and do it, and you would like, it was the Powerpuff Girls theme song is the one song that you wanted to learn how to play because that tune was in your head. And you could do like both hands. You could do the both hand thing on piano where you were playing 2 different things.
That surprises me because I remember when I had my own like personal keyboard for a little while, that was what I struggled with immensely was.
Oh, really?
Like, I mean, I could do it, but I really had to lock in. I had to focus. It was hard.
Well, that surprises me then.
I could do it to some extent, right? And I think, that's probably dissuading to people who are learning that instrument is the fact that like,
yeah,
a lot of music you're going to play on it, you have to like you've got to segment your hands into completely different rhythms. I know you can do that pretty well.
No, I can't. It's like, I mean, I can do it. I can't do it well. I can do it, but like you said, I have to focus on it a lot. I thought that like it just came natural to you. So I was a little envious. So that really surprises me to hear that you struggled with it later on.
Yeah, maybe it was just because as a child I wasn't using all that brain power. So whenever I actually used it for something, I could just pick it up immediately.
Sweet Shot of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Shot of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com. Well, okay, we're gonna switch gears now because this is where the episode switches gears. They finish playing Camptown Races, and then they start playing Go Tell Aunt Rhody, which is this
Hmm.
depressing song about death. And Laura's really bummed out. She doesn't want to sing this song about
Hmm.
dying, and she doesn't want to hear songs about death. So that at this point, the episode kind of turns to the subject of death. So we're gonna get heavy now. So, do you have a good relationship with death, Caleb, or is it something that you think about?
I don't know if anyone has like a good relationship with death, me included. I feel like the fact that I'm sitting here talking with you right now indicates that I have kind of an antagonistic relationship with death. I'm not I'm not doing it yet. But
Your enemy.
yeah, I'm specifically pretty much everything I'm doing right now actually is to avoid death. But I do think about it. I not often, mind you, but it's one of those things where, I feel like and I'm saying this to you as someone who's much younger than you, obviously, but I feel like
Mhm.
the older you get, maybe like the more prevalent you see it, I guess. Like,
Mhm.
time is a big factor in that. Like, death is like basically your finish line. And,
Sure.
you often think about it, or at least I often think about it in terms of, like, I guess, a measure of how much time you have left, right? And not knowing that is kind of, I think, why death is such like a heavy topic for people.
Sure. Yeah.
The uncertainty. I mean, it's certain, right? There is a certainty that it's going to happen, but it's the
Right.
uncertainty of when it will happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Like knowing that it will happen, but not knowing when it will happen. It's sort of like watching a horror movie where it's like, oh great, I know something's gonna jump out and scare me eventually here.
Well, see, these two ladies, Amy and Miss Maddie, both seem to have a comfortable relationship with death. Like Miss
Hmm.
Maddie's singing about it in a happy way, and Amy's planning for her funeral. So they both have, like, even though they're in their 80s, they have a very comfortable relationship with it. Not that they love it or they're looking forward to it and they don't want it to
Hmm.
happen, but they don't fear it, in other words. And I
Right.
think that probably ties in, like, with the overshadowing, not overshadowing, but like the ever prevalent, like, Christian themes of this show.
Hmm.
I think I'm kind of the same way as these ladies, where, like, I'm comfortable with the concept
Yeah.
and I get upset when people pass away, but it doesn't like succumb me to, like, weeks and weeks of sadness. I think I kind of like just come to terms with it pretty quickly and pretty easily, that, like, this is what things are like now on without this person.
Right.
So I think I like to think I have a comfortable relationship with it, but at the same time, I'm very much like an optimistic type of person, and I think that,
Hmm.
like, I have this feeling like nothing bad's going to happen. So, like, when something bad does happen, it's pretty upsetting to me. So I think I just kind of avoid thinking about it. But when I do think about it, I just think about it in the most basic of terms. So I'm
Yeah.
just kind of comfortable with it.
I think the thing that this episode specifically touches on too, regarding, I guess, the concept of death is closure. I think that's a big
Mm,
a big thing, because that's kind of the whole crux of the episode. I don't want to get too far ahead into the specifics of what goes down later, but a big theme is that during Maddie's funeral, the big discussion point is like, why is everyone showing up now that she's dead? Why didn't they show up to her birthdays?
right.
Right. And I think a big fear of Amy's, and I think a big fear of a lot of people's, is kind of a lack of closure. When you pass,
Right.
the world will keep spinning and you're not going to get to see what transpires after. And that is actually part of the reason I picked this episode, is because I was thinking about it probably like a week or two before you even brought it up to me to
Wow.
watch this. Was like, man, it kind of sucks that I won't be able to attend my own funeral.
Yes.
Like, because
Yes.
I want to see how that plays out. Like, not even from like I guess like a like selfish or like I don't want to necessarily like hear people like praising me or anything. I'm curious as to what would be said. And I think that's like that's a very interesting thing that like Amy I guess pursues in this episode is
Yeah.
that I want to see how the world would react to me being gone because that's something that like no one gets to experience.
Yeah, and that is this episode. You're absolutely right. That's exactly how this whole thing plays out, and that's what we get. So that's really interesting that that all played out that way. I think it's different for you and I because we have a pretty small, tight knit family. I wouldn't say we're tight knit, but we're small here, and there's maybe like 15 to 20 of us in all, but we all kind of get together a few times a year for
Mhm.
birthdays and things like that.
Yes.
So there's never this thing like, and for us, it's not a big deal if somebody misses out on like Lindsay's birthday party. Like if Charlotte can't come,
Well,
it's not
speak
the
for
end.
yourself, buddy.
Well, yeah, Caleb's got to be there. If Caleb's not there, it's the end of the world.
That's for Lindsay to decide.
But in general, though, like, it's not like there's nobody in our family that hasn't seen the other person in like the last month or two. So it's like
Mhm.
we're not in the situation here that Maddie and Amy are, where they haven't seen their kids for 15 years and
Oh,
they're just too busy to see their kids. That's just I guess it's a foreign concept to our family because we just don't have those type of
I
relationships.
think it's also a more of a modern thing where, we have
True.
immediate communication
Yeah.
and they exist in the 1870s where like even aside from communication, like if you wanted to visit, like it's, her kids are not in
Right.
their town, like traveling is tough. Like you can't just like book a flight over to the town. You've got to I guess like travel by wagon.
Yeah, horse and wagon or train. Oh, they have trains at this point,
Okay.
but I mean, you got to be rich to be able to ride on one.
Right.
So, like, most people aren't riding them.
But like I think it's easier back then to fall out of contact like they did.
Absolutely. I'm a modern boy too, so I look at this through a modern lens.
Hmm.
But yeah, these two ladies live together. They're both widows. They have this whole thing where like one's a Kentucky Presbyterian, so I guess they kind of make fun of each other in a way. I'm going to say that last episode when I was talking with Dee Dee, we were talking about Mr. Olson, and I kind of like coyly made this suggestion that that Mrs. Olson is possibly Mr. Olson's beard, and that I was just I was being silly. If anyone was offended, I was just joking about that, just having a joking speculation. But I say that to say that like we got these two ladies that are living together and nobody questions it in this society, and that's like the perfect cover. Like, oh, we're widows, so that's why we live together. So it's interesting to me, like when you have like TV shows in the 70s and you had two people of the same sex living together, you
Hmm.
had to have some sort of a reason
Yeah.
besides the fact that they were like, possibly romantically involved.
Hmm. I mean, obviously for them, I mean, I think they were sisters, right? Like,
No, they were just both widows,
oh wow, I thought
best
they were
friends.
related.
Nope.
Best friends, quote unquote.
Quote unquote. That's right. Roommates is what is what
Yes,
they
yeah.
are.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting speculation. I didn't even think about that. I guess because for whatever reason I thought they were sisters.
Okay.
But I guess it wouldn't make much sense because if they were sisters,
Yeah.
then
Andy would have come to that funeral. Yeah.
yeah. And we'll get to Andy. We'll get to Andy later. I've got some choice words for Mr. Andy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about Andy a lot too. Well, for right now, though, we'll still focus on Miss Maddie. Eliza, who is Miss Maddie's daughter, she thinks of Miss Maddie as a permanent fixture that will always be there. So if Eliza can't make it, it's no big deal. I can see mom next year. But Miss Maddie doesn't see it that way. She doesn't want to have a party without Eliza. And Eliza
Mhm.
sends word that she can't come. So she doesn't want to have a party. Miss Maddie is Miss Sadie, is what we'll say.
That is an understatement.
Amy's sitting here next to her and she's like, what do you say it? She's like,
She's kind of consoling her. a
she's
little.
consoling her, but she's like negging her children while she's doing it. Like, oh
Right.
yeah, my son sucks, my daughter sucks. Like,
Hmm.
and while she's doing this, like Maddie dies mid chat. That was kind of a shock, right?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know because I knew obviously I knew going in that the episode was focused around a character who was faking their death, and
Right.
I thought like, oh, it's gonna be Miss Maddie. Miss Maddie
Right.
is going to be upset that her daughter couldn't make it, and so she's gonna like she and Amy are gonna conspire together to make this little scheme happen. But no, she just passes right then and there, while
Yep.
Amy is like talking to her.
I think she died of sadness for real.
Yeah, died of a broken heart.
That too. Yeah. So like we immediately like smash cut to her funeral and everybody's there sad, except for Amy. I mean, Amy is like really sad, but she's like kind of mourning from afar. She doesn't want to get too close to the
Hmm.
grave. And she's hanging with the girls. Finally, we get to see some of the Ingalls. Laura's there with the other girls, and Laura is I love everything about Laura. And I know she's a character that's written. So, like, these are just words that a writer wrote, but she delivers the words. She's talking about how it's a shame that birthdays and funerals can't be reversed. And this is
Hmm.
what puts this whole idea into Amy's head. And we see her wheels start turning like, I see the light now, thanks to Laura.
For me, that was the first part where it's like, oh, I like Laura. Laura's great. Like she's and I like the fact that they specifically frame it so it's a child asking this question. So when she
Right.
asks it, Amy, I forget exactly what she says, but something to the effect of, well, it happens this way because, grown-ups do everything a little bit backwards.
Right.
Because
Yep.
she was specifically asking why grown-ups everyone shows up for a funeral and not a birthday.
Yep. Yeah, so she has to go home to an empty house now. Her roommate's gone. Her quote unquote roommate is gone.
Hmm.
And like this is a real bask in the sadness moment. I think this is when we turned it off when me and Heather were watching it. Cause like she's got her black dress, the rocking chair, gazing at her friend's portrait, the
Hmm.
music. It's just a lot happening here.
It's a real bummer. Like I think the what was interesting to me about this part was like kind of how the mask came off a little bit because
Right.
I've was it Charles who took her home?
Yes.
Yeah, Charles took her home and like she was like being cordial, she was being nice, and he was like, "Let me know if you need anything, Amy." And she's like, "Oh, I'll be fine." And then she immediately, as soon as the door closes, kind of just like sinks a little bit, and that was just real unfortunate. I felt really bad for her.
And it was real. That's like
Hmm.
that was very indicative of like, I know that emotion too. But yeah, the girls are wearing their nice blue dresses. You probably didn't notice these nice blue dresses, but these were brand new for the girls, made by Ma a couple episodes back, because usually they wear burlap stuff, but now they got these
Oh,
lovely, nice
you're right.
dresses.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, we see them saying some prayers at the table. Little House, that the reason I wrote that down is I was just going to emphasize to you like how Little House is always they're always praying, they're going to church, they're quoting scripture. Carolyn, the mom, always justifies what she's doing by what the Bible says. And the interesting thing about this show is like the show writers and a lot of the and Michael Landon were all Jewish and they didn't really celebrate their Judaism. They were just kind of, I guess like you and I with our religion, we just kind of
It's how they were brought up.
yeah, like they weren't overly Christian. They weren't trying to push a Christian message. They just thought it should be part of the show. And for some reason I accept it and I like the fact that they do it because it's portrayed in such a positive light. Like
Hmm.
very rarely do they harp on like the duality of Christianity sometimes, or maybe sometimes like the strange things the Bible might say. Instead, they just kind of celebrate all the goodness of it. So like I don't know, it just kind of adds to the charm of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense too, given the setting, right? Because, 1870s America, you'd be hard pressed to find people that weren't, at least somewhat devout, right?
Sure, yeah, and we meet some in like in this series as well because some people just I like that about the show too. They introduce other characters of other religions. They introduce characters that don't care about religion, and they don't try to change them. There's not like a
Hmm.
redemption story. Well, now he's a Christian. It's just kind of like, well, now he's our friend and we like him. Uh,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah. They're talking about going to visit Amy since she doesn't have Maddie at the house anymore. And somebody's idea, which is a great idea, is like instead of you guys going together, like, Laura goes and then Mary goes another day, like spread the love, which is a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura says something really neat, which she says that she likes Amy because she talks to her like grown-ups talk.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was very cool, and I liked that. I appreciated that about grown-ups when I was a kid. Do you remember any grown-ups that were like that when you were younger that you looked up to that way?
I can't remember any specifically from like early childhood. I mean, like obviously, in school, certain teachers, like I
Yeah,
felt that way about. There were some teachers that like were very level with you, and like a lot of it helped. I think that when I was in high school, my high school, Glen Allen, was new at the time. Like when I started going there, it had only been going for a couple years.
right.
So all the teachers were like comparatively young to the teachers you'd normally find at
They
other
seemed so
schools.
young to me. I was like, "Oh my god, you're teaching my kid?"
Yes. And like I don't think it's as comparable to Laura and Amy because Laura is a child, like elementary school child, and Amy
Yeah,
is very old. She's turning 80 in
yeah,
the episode, if I remember correctly. So there's a bigger gap there. But having teachers like that when I was in high school, it kind of felt less like I guess, like an authoritative figure and more of like, like, this is a person who is
right.
like
Exactly.
teaching me and they are like, they're kind of on my level a little bit. I can actually have conversations with them.
Yeah, I always strive to do that when I talk to kids, unless they're like 3 or younger. But at a certain point, you don't want to baby a kid
Hmm.
at all. You want to treat them because like I was saying about Laura earlier, even though they don't really express like a lot of intelligence or proficiency, you know that in their head they got plenty and they
Yeah.
know exactly what's going on. So I always want to make sure to, I don't know, talk to a kid like I would talk to anybody else in a nice way, of course.
I don't think you ever really like babied me all that much from what I remember. I feel like
Mm-mm, it
from
was the whip every day.
yeah, out in the fields. It was terrible. I was just an employee. No, but like I remember you specifically like I think like after I think probably like first or second grade around that time like you would just show me stuff like TV shows and movies that you were into, not necessarily that like you weren't being like, "Oh, you should watch this. This is a good little show for kids or this is a good movie for a guy your age." You're like, no, check this out. This is Clerks, the animated series. I love this. And I was like, dude, this is awesome.
I mean, I knew it was right up your alley, and like the Clerks the animated series was naughty, but it wasn't that naughty. So it was like I thought you were right for it, and I was
It-
right. You were.
you were right. And I think a lot of the like adult jokes can go like right over a kid's head in that
Sure.
show. So like there's a good balance of like kind of slapstick like goofiness to it that kind of makes it more accessible versus like if you had actually shown me the movie Clerks, like I probably would have been like bored out of my mind because it's
Yeah.
all dialogue and a lot of it I wouldn't have understood what made it funny at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, that's definitely not geared towards children. Where I don't know if Clerks the animated is geared towards kids either, but it's just more accessible, I think. And
Yeah.
that's why I felt comfortable showing it to you. I was like, this guy Kevin Smith rules, and here's something that Caleb can consume from him for once. I don't feel the same way about Kevin Smith now, by the way. That's not one that like really grew with me. I kind of like stopped liking him after a while.
Yeah, I think I don't know too much about what he's been working on lately, but like
Right.
I don't know. I feel like in a modern context, things I see from him. Have you seen? There was a while on Twitter where whenever he went to go see a Marvel movie, like one of the MCU movies, he would like
Hmm.
post a selfie of himself just crying in the theater at it. It's just
No.
kind of cringe, dude. Like, come on, man. I liked Ant-Man as much as the next guy, but like you don't have to post yourself like in tears afterwards.
There's somebody in my friend group that is apt to do similar things, and it's a little cringe, but you accept it by that person.
Yeah,
It's like that's who that person is. So
that Kentucky Presbyterian.
that's right.
Just gotta you accept it, but you can still tease them for it a little.
Yeah, exactly. As long as they're game. We're going to talk about playing sick now. We got the 5-day Quincy, which I've
Yes.
never heard of the 5-day Quincy, but I love it.
Yeah.
And apparently, this is when, a kid is sick Monday through Friday and then he's miraculously good on the weekend. The only thing that can cure that is castor oil every 4 hours.
Yeah. I loved that little bit because
I did too.
As soon as he brought it up, the kid was like, "Oh, actually, I'm good, Mom. I can go to school. It's fine."
But it was a fun bit of little foreshadowing, though. It was a fun gag, but it's also Amy is here and she's trying the same thing. She's trying to fake being sick
Mm-hmm.
because she's kind of laying the groundwork for her fake death. So she goes and settles her debts and she pretends to be sick, but then she eventually lets Charles and Doc Baker on to the plot. She's like, instead of just having like a birthday party when I turn 80 next week, we're going to have a wake. We're going to celebrate. We're going to plan a wake, pretend I'm dead, invite my children. These guys are not on board. They like immediately jump up and start screaming.
Well, it's because I think what I really liked about it was like how well she played the part up until they promised, and then she, just like the kid, like perked up, was like, "All right, it's set, we're doing it." And, like, I think part of like the shock was like them realizing they just got played.
Yeah. So yeah, now they've agreed to like plan her wake. They have to invite her long lost children in and like lie to them and say that she's dead so that they can come into their funeral and she can finally see her children. She thinks her line here that she says is, "They'll do for my corpse, but not for me."
Yeah.
And so she's like, logically, she's like, well, that's the only way I can get them to come see me. Funny thing is, like, he says, Doc Baker is like, what do I tell them you die of? And she's like, I'm 80 years old. Figure it out.
Yeah. Just really pinning it all on him on that one. And I think Doc Baker is he's like probably the funniest person in terms of this whole like keeping up the charade, because
Yeah.
Charles is obviously conflicted about it, but like he's doing his best, he's like maintaining composure, versus like the Doc, whenever he's like being questioned about it, like you can see him visibly sweating, like he is struggling to keep it together.
Yeah, she doesn't even know. This is one thing. She doesn't know if her son Andy is even alive or dead. She hasn't seen him for 15 years. He's been in the war. She hasn't heard from him. What's that?
I said, yeah, he went off to war. Like, and that was the last time she heard from him, was that he went off to war. So like the natural conclusion is that, like,
is that he died there, because like the war's been over for years now, because we're like, I think we're 4 or 5 years past the Civil War at this point. Everything is still kind of like in limbo. Nothing is really cast in stone in America at this time frame. So I think it's kind of easy to like, lose touch with your family at this time, especially if you're in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Charles has to go home and let Carolyn and the girls know what he's agreed to. And of course, Carolyn is not down with this. And she's a very godly woman and she very much lives by the Bible. So you would think that she's just dead set against this whole plan, which I figured she would be. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Laura and Mary talk about mortality. And
yes,
she freaks Mary out as they go to bed that night.
That was like the funniest scene in the whole episode for me. Was like Laura like bugging Mary about it, and then like Laura going off about how death must be similar to just going to sleep for a long time. I think
Yes,
is what she described it as. And Mary looks terrified. Like that, the act
absolutely.
that actor was killing it because the framing of that scene was so funny.
Yeah,
Just being
absolutely,
like
man.
being stuck, like having to like go to bed next to this child who's smiling, thinking about the specifics of death. I loved that.
I did too. And then the third girl, Carrie, we get to see a fun scene with, I like this scene. The
The one
next
of her and
day,
Charles.
yes.
Yes.
The next day, Charles, Carrie, and Carolyn drive over to Amy's house so that Carolyn can talk some sense into Amy. So, yeah, Carolyn goes inside. Charles and Carrie are outside waiting, and Charles is pacing nervously, and Carrie is matching him step by step. And it's so cute. I love this little girl, Carrie. What was your impression of little Carrie?
She didn't really like obviously she's like super young. What is she like
Yes.
4
Yes,
or something?
exactly.
Okay, yeah. Like she can't really like contribute all that much other than being like, a cute kid just like doing these little background gags.
Yeah.
But the whole time every scene she's in, she's like smiling and like giggling a little bit. And like me watching it, I'm just thinking like this child actor is just like struggling so hard to like not like burst out laughing on set. She's having so much fun.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. That's how she was. Like the story is on set, like her mom was like a real stage mom type and difficult to work with, but that Carrie
Uh,
herself was just a little silly, goofy kid that liked to smile a lot and was hard to understand because like she just had a bad cadence to her voice, and
hmm
I think she had a speech impediment as well. But yeah, I'm a big fan of hers because it seems like a lot of scenes in Little House are everybody's in the kitchen talking, and then the scene seems like it's over, but then Carrie says something unintelligible, and then everybody laughs, and then the scene's over. And I like that. I just like that whole little setup there.
I like it because it's not something that you need to have. Like you don't
Exactly.
need to do it, but it adds a bit more life into a scene because like it's a realistic like child. Like the kid is just she's kind of in her own world, and that's what like toddlers at that age are like. They're just kind of doing whatever, and all you can do as an adult is kind of just react to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the epitome of like, just including your youngest sibling into whatever you're doing. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we'll give Carrie a line. There you go. Good job, kid.
And you can relate to that because you're the youngest sibling.
It's true. I am always overlooked, man.
You're the
Always.
Carrie.
I was the Laura. Come on, man. And Vicky was the Mary. I was the Laura. That's what it's all about. We just
Man,
didn't have a Carrie in the household. That's all there was to it.
I guess you're right. Carrieless house.
I'm not going to be blazing through this episode, but I'm probably going to ask you less personal questions, and we're just going to kind of stick to the little house of things
Sure.
because we're hitting on an hour here, and we still got about halfway through the episode.
Sorry, I'm slowing the progress down here.
Oh, I don't accept apologies now. That I didn't say that to get apology out of you. That's
Back to the field.
back to the field. Carolyn comes out of the house, and apparently she's agreed to bake a cake for the funeral, for the wake, or whatever it's going to be, birthday party. Let's see. I was gonna. I mean, I will ask you because I think we should like shine to this. I lied, Caleb. I'm going to ask you one last personal question.
Well, well, well.
I know because it's cakes and it's your mom. She loves to bake cakes, and we're talking about Little House. So I know your mom has baked many cakes for you throughout the years, weird, funny cakes. What's the most memorable cake that you can remember her making?
I don't remember if it was a cake that she made or not, but I'm not a cake guy personally. I usually don't want birthday cake. I'm more of an ice cream guy when it comes to desserts. But there was this one cake I had during, I think it was one of my elementary school birthdays. And I don't remember if she made it or she got it from somewhere. But it was this cookies and cream ice cream cake. And that is like to this day the best cake I've ever had.
Oh,
And I I have no idea what it was.
Just cookies and cream. That's all it takes, huh?
Well, it was ice cream cake too, so
Right, right.
But I don't know what it was. It was like I've had other like cookies and cream ice cream cakes, and none of them have hit the same.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting too, because we know that like the lactose doesn't usually agree with you. So you were digging
No.
into some ice cream cake.
Well, I was a kid, so it wasn't as bad.
That's, again, a surprising answer because I can remember cakes that your mom made of like, I remember one from your 21st birthday where she made one like with like a little version of you that had like drinking too much and had like thrown up on top of the cake or something. It was pretty rad.
I was thinking more about the cake itself rather than presentation, but now that you mention it, the one, I don't remember which birthday it was, but it was the one where it was all pictures of me on the cake that were taken from the Instagram account that Josh had made for me, the Caleb Compendium account.
Yes.
I don't remember if it was mom or you that put that cake together, but
it was your mom for sure. Yeah.
She got all the pictures that Josh had posted of me on Instagram and put them on the cake. And I think I'm changing my answer. That is the best cake I've ever had, actually. Not the cake itself, but just the concept.
Yes.
Because I had no idea that it was coming.
That is a better answer. I like that answer much better. Because if I remember well, like your mom has great presentation for her cakes, but the cakes themselves don't always taste great.
I mean, I just don't like cake in general. I mean, cake is fine, but a birthday steak. Now we're talking.
I'll remember that for the next October 23rd. Then
it's coming up.
It is. All right,
Big
where are we
3-0.
Yeah, you got like a nice round number this year. Caleb will be 30, and that's one of the reasons, listeners, why I wanted Caleb on the show. Not just because he's my son and that he's articulate, but that he's a millennial. So, like, I'm happily introducing the show to Gen Z and millennials.
I feel more in line with Gen Z, honestly, than millennial. But I am still like I feel like I'm right in the middle. So I'm the perfect mediator.
I misspoke. My son Caleb is Gen Z.
No, I'm not Gen Z. I am a millennial. No. I'm just pointing out that I feel like, in terms of like, my millennial friends tell me, they call me a Zoomer often. So I feel kind of a black sheep, generation speaking.
I've been accused of being a millennial myself at work. So, what can you do?
I can see it.
Well, in our story, everybody's on board now, including Carolyn. So they have to sneak Amy out of her house, like Game of Thrones style. This seemed like a Game of Thrones scene to me, like where they were on horseback and she's in the back of like the carriage peeking out, the victory music in the background. They're going to hide her at the Ingalls household. They're going to invite a priest from out of town to come in for the wake. So everything's coming into play now. Like everything, all the wheels are turning.
Yeah, we're past the point of no return here.
Exactly. Well, almost. Because Father Gorman shows up and he wants to talk to the Ingalls family. He's like, tell me about Amy. I need to like say some stuff during the wake. So tell me what to say. And they're being very coy about it. They're not saying anything. So Amy, who has been listening in the other room, comes out and she's like, I just can't take this anymore. She grabs Father Gorman and takes him outside. Carolyn and Charles are like, shoo, okay. She's going to confess and this whole thing's going to be over.
And Charles, devil that he is, takes a handful of the cake as soon as he learns it's over.
Like, why would he do that? They could still like enjoy a cake as a family, right?
Yeah, I was like, that to me is a huge party foul. If you just, not even using a utensil, he just digs his hand into it.
He's a lovable scamp in this episode. He really is. So what really happens though, Amy lies to Father Gorman and she's like, I'm Amy's best friend and I'm going to tell you all this stuff about Amy that you can say at the funeral. So she's posing as another widow. So the priest has his stuff. We get like some silly musical clues and Charles eats the cake. So this promise is making them break all kinds of like social norms, all kinds of like,
Yeah, lying to a priest,
yeah, right.
which is a huge deal back then.
And they're saying that they're doing this because they made a promise to Amy. So the promise to Amy is more important than like the 10 commandments or whatever.
I guess.
I don't know. But okay, we have this week in our Carrie translation corner, Como esta? Carrie has two lines that she said. Were you able to decipher anything that Carrie said in this episode?
If I was able to understand it, I don't remember the lines. I'm gonna be honest. They were few and far between.
Well, the one she said sleepy by at one point, which
Okay.
wasn't the right thing to say in the scene, but she said it very clearly. And then during this scene is when Amy goes outside with Father Gorman. This is when Carrie says, "What are they doing?" Except for like the line she actually says, like "Baba ya booba." So, final setting piece now. We're finally at the wake and it's lively. It's like a fun
Everyone's there.
time. Yeah. It's like a party too. Everybody's like smiling, laughing, telling stories. This is like what a wake should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Have you, I mean, this is another personal question. I'm going for it. Have you been to like a lively wake where you're able to celebrate somebody's life in this way, or has it always been downers?
I mean, I don't think I've been to wakes or funerals where the ceremony itself was lively, but I
Of
have
course.
been to funerals where it's an event where I'm seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time.
Right.
And despite the setting, being able to see people that you haven't seen in so long kind of like, it kind of makes it like less depressing to attend. Like, despite the circumstances of you guys reuniting, like being able to like catch up with people,
Yeah,
being
it
able
can
to catch up.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, just being able to catch up with people, in the midst of like, remembering a person that passed and remembering the point in your life in which you were, connected by those people. I think that in of itself is more of a celebratory thing, even if the ceremony itself is, a downer.
Yeah, and I would say that they portrayed that really well in this show here because like I said, it's not like everybody was like, getting uproariously laughing and stuff, but you saw people like having a good time instead of like crying and weeping, which
Hmm.
most shows will just show people crying and weeping more than
Right.
likely.
Well, Amy did say that she wanted it to be a celebration,
Specifically, yes.
and the angles. There's a scene where at the beginning of the wake, one of the other ladies in town actually comes up to Carolyn and is talking about how she felt like the ceremony was a little unorthodox because of how cheery it was.
Exactly. Yep. Well, yeah, well, I enjoyed it because like the last two funerals that I've been to have both been tragic.
Yeah.
One with you and then one with Charlotte. I mean, not like not y'all's, but you know what I'm saying? I attended one with you and I attended one
Hmm.
with Charlotte.
Hmm.
And the one with you, it was like a double funeral. It was upsetting, but like
Yes.
afterwards, just like you said, it's like we hadn't seen this group of people for like, I don't know, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful seeing everybody again. And I remember
Hmm.
having a great time talking to like Nick Drake's mom and
Hmm.
the Burks, and it was great.
Yeah, and likewise, I really liked being able to see like Nick and Gary and Sam again, like all those guys. Like it had been forever since I'd heard from any of them, and like
Yeah.
the last time I'd seen them was like in Scouts. We were like still teenagers, so like seeing them again as adults, they've changed so much.
Yeah, and we were like having just as much of a good a time, I think, as they were in this show here. Like after of course, the ceremony,
Hmm.
and sometimes it feels kind of weird doing that. It's like you kind of like get hit with like the thought, like, oh, we shouldn't be having this much fun. But then you're like, I mean, if the person who was deceased, they would probably want to be having fun too. They
Yeah,
probably want us to be having fun.
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of my thing is I put myself in the deceased shoes and I think like, man, if my funeral no one is talking to one another, and it's a downer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna haunt y'all. You guys need to be having some fun. You guys are alive. Enjoy life because I'm the one in the casket.
Yeah.
I want you guys to be enjoying the life that you have right now.
In this series, you don't see as good a food spread as you do in this episode. So we see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
really good food, good company. There's the birthday cake that Carolyn made. I guess she had to make another one after Charles desecrated the first one.
So I thought it was the same cake because there's a scene where I think Laura is the one carrying it in, and you see the cake looks like it's been like messed up. It's like cut in half. It's
I
like
didn't
really
catch
hard.
that.
It's really hard to spot. Maybe I was just imagining it, but like it looked like the cake had like a tremor going through the middle of it. Like not an even cut, but it looked like it had been like cracked open.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, Amy's in the back room. She's like drinking bourbon and like disguising herself as an old friend and listening into what people are saying.
Can I just say, Amy's outfit in this scene makes her look like a ghost. Like the
Yes.
veil over her head, like the all black. She's the only one who's wearing like all black, if I remember correctly. Everyone
That's
else
right.
is just in their like normal clothes.
For whatever reason, that was a thing that it was a common thing, especially in the 1870s, was to cover if you were a woman, to cover your complete face
Mm-hmm.
so that no one would see like your grieving.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was also, from what I understand, a way that you could pretend that you were grieving, but you were really just hanging out.
the unspoken second utility.
That's right. We get a cool like a modern like technique in this episode because usually they have like pretty still cameras in Little House, but we get this like moving camera effect where we're following Laura around like this crowded room.
Yes.
And she like, ducks under a table and stuff. I just thought that was really neat. Like that's something we don't usually see in Little House.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was like an interesting technique.
It was a great like setting as far as like I don't know, like it was a real house, like, or maybe it wasn't. If it was a set, it was very well disguised, but it seemed like it was just actually like they were filming in like a little house on a prairie, perhaps.
Well, they did build a town. They were on the Wizard of Oz soundstage for all of like the filming of Little House, like for the outdoor scenes. That was all the same outdoor stuff they used for Wizard of Oz. So they built like that town. You don't see the town in this episode, but there's a mill, there's a post office, a school, all that stuff. And they really built all that stuff and they really built this town. But for the interior shots, it was all shot on, sound stages like within like Paramount. So you weren't seeing inside somebody's house. And in fact, this is probably the Olsen's house just like retouched up to look like a different house.
They did a really good job.
I thought so too, because like, it was completely different, but it looked like the layout of it. It probably was, the Olsen set and they just put new furniture in there. But hey, we're partying, we're hanging out with the furniture and stuff, but the kids arrive. Finally, the kids are here.
Yes.
This is when Nana gets happy, is when the grandkids show up. And this is like, this moment. Bridget's here, Ruth, Dennis, Freddie, Sean, we don't know these people. We have no idea who they are as the watchers, but we're happy.
Extended family. Yeah. She's never seen a lot of them.
Yep. They're saying all kinds of cool stuff. They're talking about like the blonde haired boy that Bridget brought home from the dance. She's so naughty. Somebody says, "Oh, mother was always right. She was always right." And she's hearing all the stuff she wants to hear and she's loving it. Then here comes our handsomest boy I've ever seen in this series, I think. Andy shows up in uniform, of course.
Andy. Where to begin?
You said you wanted to talk about Andy, so I'm gonna kick it to you. What's up with Andy?
So throughout the episode, right, Amy is talking about her kids, and you get kind of an idea about the first two, Bridget and what was the son's name? Sean?
Yeah.
Bridget and Sean, they're clearly just living their own lives, right? They've got their own families they're taking care of. They are... And Bridget does reach out, right? She's heard from them, but she just never sees them.
Yes.
Andy is this kind of like wild card in the family tree because he went off to war, as we said earlier, 15 years ago, and she has not heard from him since.
Right.
This entire episode, I thought that it was going to be revealed at the wake that, like, when they sent word to find Andy, that he had indeed passed. And
Oh,
that there was going to be this kind of like ironic tragedy where Amy was like, here I am feigning death when the real thing took my son all along.
that would have been perfect.
But so
Man,
when Andy walked through the door, I had like the same reaction as Amy. I was like, "What? He's alive and he hasn't contacted for 15 years?" Andy, you dog. I was pissed. Not pissed that he was alive, but pissed that he hadn't reached out.
and pissed that like that's a great that would have been like a nice ending to this story, like
It
a
would have been a
real like
much more downer ending is the thing though.
it would have been a downer, but it would have been a lesson learned kind of
Mhm.
situation. Like, don't toy around with death. Don't
Yeah,
pretend like you're dead. That's pretty crappy to do.
that's where I thought it was heading. Not where it wound up going, but the episode did still, have like a theme to unpack at the end, which, I guess I'll let you go back to recanting what happens.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're right at the tail end here because Andy shows up, and this is when Amy cannot take it anymore. She stands up to reveal herself that she is still alive. A hush falls over the crowd. The party is like pretty much officially over at this point.
Yeah.
She bitches everybody out like to their
Hmm.
face. It's like I don't think she wanted it to go down this way, but like she's kind of getting like her chance to really
Yeah.
tell everybody how she feels.
Hmm.
Especially, like I said, Andy with his hot little mustache.
And Andy, the other two, I think they still needed to hear it, but I think they it was a little harsh. Andy, 100% justified crash out from Amy. He deserved every little bit of ribbing he got.
Amy's defense is, I've tried everything else
Hmm.
to see you and to find out whether you're alive or dead. And this is the only way I could do it. So everybody kind of accepts that answer like on face value.
Yeah, I think it went over a little too smooth, if I'm being honest. I think things played out a little too well for Amy, in my opinion. I not to say that I don't think like she's somewhat justified in like trying to get her kids, because clearly it worked.
Yeah.
Like it's like they said at the funeral, like she's always right. And she was right. This
Yes.
was the perfect way to get them to all show up, and it worked. But at the same time, when this whole confrontation was going down, what I was thinking at the time was how much it would suck to be one of the just random townspeople, like stuck in this like family drama. Like, oh, geez, I came here to pay my respects to Amy, but it was actually just this like interpersonal family drama that I've gotten dragged into, and now we're all just standing here watching it happen.
No, but no, Caleb, because
Mm-mm.
she does her little speech, she makes everybody feel bad, but then she's like, "I love you guys," and they're like, "We
Mm.
love you too, mom." And then Charles Ingalls, with tears in his eyes, says, "Well, this is supposed to be a birthday party." And he puts on a jam. He starts playing "Kick Out the Jams" on his on his
Dude,
fiddle. Everybody
crazy,
dances. Episode
crazy
over.
save from Charles there. I have to say,
Yes.
Charles somehow managed to salvage the vibe. I don't know how he does it, but he
It's that twinkle in his
single-handedly.
eye, man.
It's the fiddle, man. I and it's you mentioned the fiddle earlier. I did not know he could play the fiddle going into this episode. So him
Yeah.
just busting it out right here out of nowhere, I was taken aback. I was like, "Whoa, Charles, I wasn't familiar with your game. My apologies."
Well, I mean, this is episode 6. So if you've been watching the whole series, this would be
Hmm.
the 6th time you would have seen him playing
Yeah,
the fiddle.
it's just the consequence of experiencing Little House in a vacuum.
Yes. And what else you see on every single episode of Little House, and I'm trying to prove this by doing what I call the cry counter, and I'm going to check in on who cried this episode. Almost always it's going to be Charles, and yes, this episode Charles cried as he was playing the fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
We also saw Andy crying, we saw Sean crying, we saw Bridget crying, we saw Amy herself crying, and then we saw Ma crying. So this is a very cry-heavy episode.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, makes sense given the context.
Yes, we're talking about birthdays and deaths. And this episode that came out on your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So this all ties in really nicely. Ties in so nicely, I think it's time to wrap up the episode, Caleb. Did you have any last thoughts for us?
Final thoughts? I just wanted to say I liked the tiny little bit at the end where Amy looks to, what was his name? Father Gostin? The priest out of town.
Father Gorman.
Father Gorman. When she looks to Father Gorman and she says, I'm terribly sorry for deceiving you. I hope you don't need to bring this up to the bishop, I think is what she says. And he's like, well, we can make exceptions. That's if the bishop even has to know about this. And then he winks at her. It's like, oh, dang.
So cool.
Father Gorman was cool all along. What the hell?
Maybe he shouldn't be a priest. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't keep secrets like that.
It's like, how many times have you done this, Father Gorman?
I'm going to do some plugs here at the end. The only thing I have to plug is to keep listening to this podcast. We're still going through Little House. I'll be discussing A Harvest of Friends with Charlotte in an upcoming episode, and I will be discussing the 100-year walk with Chad, a.k.a. Green, on an episode after that. So we have the next few episodes planned out. We're supposed to be releasing some Introvoid music in the next few weeks or month. I hope it's not any longer than a month.
Yeah, don't
I keep promising. I keep promising Lindsay I'm going to finish this song for her, and I just got my recording gear worked out this afternoon. You can see my stuff behind me, so I'm ready to get recorded. So yeah, keep listening to Sweet Child of Time. Caleb, thank you for coming on this heavy episode and discussing this with me in such a frank and honest way. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the show for the first time. I enjoyed recording with you for the first time.
That's right. This is not the first time we've been on mic together. We get together about once a week to watch television on the computer. So this is kind of what we always do. But yeah, everybody else can hear what we're talking about this time. Who knows? I might ask you to come back for another episode of Little House, which you can say no or you can say yes, and we'll see. But until that time, I'm going to do our sign off here. I hope everybody, including you, Caleb, finds water and finds water and shade and shoes and a nice big crucifix organ. What do you call that thing? I'm messing up my outro here, Caleb. Jesus.
Yeah, I've flustered you up here.
I'm flustered. Everybody, bye. Have a good time. See you later.